Okay, this is a response to the video by ArgusEyes, the dogma of feminism. It is to address what seem to be some very real misunderstandings of how socialization works, the importance of socialization, what can and can't be said about it, and most importantly, and kind of stemming from all that, the idea that socialization makes it possible for there to be a patriarchal society without any kind of conspiracy of males out to get people, which he kind of implies in the video. We know that there is not this organized conspiracy of males out to get people. I know it. I believe Boundless Eyes knows it. You know it. And while some people on the fringe may disagree, that's okay. That does not invalidate this theory or this idea. Next, the fact that there are biological differences in women does not mean that all differences in behavior are explained by those biological differences. This is a terrible argument. It doesn't even follow. It's like, you're like, well, there's this one cause and there's this other cause, but the existence of the first cause means the second one doesn't matter. That doesn't even make sense. It's an experiment with no controls. And then in your video, you actually decide to try and criticize Boundless for not controlling for variables. I mean, really. It's like you're trying to break my brain. I'm not sure what you're thinking when you say that. I'm not sure what you're thinking when you're like, well, look at all these physical differences. Therefore, that's what's causing behavior. I mean, really? You could make an argument that these are the things causing behavior, and I'd be very curious to hear what you had to say about the biochemistry and the evidence for the kinds of differences that you are basically saying that exist. Also, I'd like to hear some short list of some of the major differences that you think exist between men and women in the way they think. I want to hear that. And I want to hear which ones you think, and I guess you think none of them are social. So I want to hear at least a little bit of biological background, because as a biochemist and geneticist, or this is my area of study, I'd be happy to talk about that. And I'm not at all convinced by your lack of argument there. Let me talk through socialization real quick, just so we both have an idea of what I mean. As people, we have input from society. Society gives us ideas of what to expect of people, what we see. As human beings, we make snap judgments all the time. We meet a new person, we make a judgment. We have expectations about that person based on what they're wearing, what they look like, how tall they are, whether they're male or female. And gender is by no means the only variable in this equation, but it is a huge one, because of the amount of stress we put on the roles of men and women in society. And if you doubt this, look at any non-Western society, and they have even more exaggerated roles for men and women. And if you think that, oh, we're enlightened and we don't have that problem anymore and that's just their problem, that seems a little bit like wishful thinking to me. I've witnessed a lot of sexism in my life. I don't really know what world you live in if you haven't, because you keep on referring to it as this sort of fantasy, but I see it in pretty clear ways. So I think that's something I want to hear about, why it is like you've really never seen sexism. Maybe it's just hard for me to believe. And lastly, I'd like to just say, well, actually this isn't lastly, this is second to lastly. I read an interesting study just now, actually. I'm going to link it, probably an annotation, maybe in the sidebar too, something like that. It's about differences between hostile and benevolent sexism, where benevolent sexism is things like opening doors for women all the time, carrying things for them that they can clearly carry for themselves, otherwise making them feel helpless. The study shows that women view this negatively in a lot of cases. It shows that it has a negative effect on their performance in interviews And also, what's interesting is it makes it so that in some cases they don't recognize the sexism but are affected by it. Now, I don't have enough time in this video to go into it, so like I said, I'm going to link to it. I hope you take a look at it. It's a really interesting article. Just for the psychology of it, even if you're not particularly interested in the sexism aspect, which I think is really the sort of the driving behind it. But anyway, and lastly, feminists are not Nazis. It may be good rhetoric, you make it sound good. There's some logical connection there even. Oh, look at these oppressed people, it made them evil. These oppressed people are also evil. But really, you can't conflate feminists with Nazis. You Godwined yourself. Let me help you. Nazis, they injected phenol into people to see how long it would take them to die. They did this intravenously, they did this directly into the heart. I mean, that's eventually what they found, is when you inject someone directly in the heart with phenol, they die almost instantly. I believe it was under 3 seconds. It's pretty incredible. Feminists, on the other hand, sometimes they hold organized protests. So, phenol, organized protests. Let's take another example. Nazis murder millions of people, sometimes in gas chambers. Feminists, penchant for vegetarianism. I'm just not seeing the equal sign here. Maybe you can equate me to a Nazi sympathizer in your next video, if you respond at all. But yeah, I look forward to it. It'll be an interesting argument. Talk to me. Why don't you agree? What is your problem with socialization, and where do you see holes in what I have to say? I look forward to hearing from you.